The package arrived on a cold Tuesday, wrapped in clear plastic and a note. "For when you forget how to smile," my sister wrote. Her handwriting trembled. I laughed then, but something in my chest felt like ice. Elsa looked exactly like the dolls in the film. Braid, blue dress, painted eyes, but she smelled faintly of old wood and closed attics. Her hair was frayed on one side, as if it had been pulled. When I placed her on the mantel, the room seemed to cool by a degree. I told myself it was imagination. The first odd thing was small. A cup I had left on the table would be moved. The radio would switch stations on its own and hiss. Once, I found tiny prints in the dust on top of the piano, too perfect to be a cat's. The cat watched the mantel for hours and would not jump up. When the cat hissed at the empty air, I stopped blaming chance. My sister had found Elsa in an old house she was cleaning. "They left in a hurry," she said. The mother kept the doll in a glass case, said it belonged to the daughter, said the child never left her room. My sister's voice broke on the last words. She would not say more. Nights grew thin. I dreamed the doll stood behind me in mirrors. I woke to a child's breath against my ear. The window panes fogged as if someone had pressed their face against them. Once the power went out and the streetlight made a weak halo through the blinds. Elsa sat on the mantel and her braid shifted. Her painted head turned with a slow, precise movement I had seen before in the dreams. "Please open the window," a small voice whispered. I could not tell if it came from the doll or from a house. I thought of calling my sister. I thought of throwing the doll away. Instead, I walked into the alley and sat on the cold concrete, listening to the city breathe. When I returned, Elsa sat on the windowsill. Her cheek had a smear of condensation, like a damp fingerprint. The latch was turned just a little. The requests came often after that. "Please don't leave," the voice would say at midnight. "Please come home." Sometimes the doll sang a lullaby I had half remembered from childhood, a song about cold that never warmed. Saying nothing felt like a shield. Speaking felt like pulling a string. I went to the house where my sister had found the doll. The estate stood at the end of an old street. Its garden had been swallowed by weeds. The new owners let me inside. The daughter's room still had a glass case. It was empty. On the mantel in that room lay a faded photograph of a girl with a braid. On the back, Elsa, 1998. The neighbors remembered a fever, a long winter, a mother who watched the child's breaths vanish slowly. The house smelled of mothballs and loss. Back in my flat, the presence tightened like a hand around my ribs. I saw the girl's face in crowds. Her smile seemed to tell me something urgent. It felt wrong to turn away. One night, the voice asked a simple question. "Will you say her name?" Names have weight. Saying them aloud can be a release. I breathed, "Elsa." The house exhaled. The doll's painted lips seemed to part, and her eyes lost their sharp glint. The smell of cold that had clung to the room thinned. For the first time in weeks, the air felt ordinary. The voice answered, softer now, "Thank you." I wrapped Elsa in the original plastic and took her back to the estate. The young couple watched me place her in the empty glass case. I slid the door shut. The photograph beside her seemed brighter, as if light had found a place to rest. As I shut the glass case, I felt a slip in my coat pocket. My fingers found a tiny folded scrap of paper. The crease was soft from many openings. On it were 3 words in a child's careful hand. "Do not forget me." My throat tightened. I showed the couple the note. The young woman held it like a delicate thing, and then pressed it to her chest. She told me that the note matched the line the mother used to write in the girl's books. She would fold paper into tiny boats and leave them at the window, the owner said. We found more in the attic, sealed in a shoebox. They were all for someone who never left. That small paper changed the shape of the night. It crossed hands and pockets. It had a stubborn way of staying where memory feared to go. I thought of my sister's wet note and the tremor in her handwriting. Perhaps we all carry winter in our coats. Weeks later, ordinary life returned in small ways. The cat reclaimed the mantle. The radio stopped hissing my name. But on very quiet evenings, when the lamps were low and the air seemed to listen, I still felt the impression of a small hand closing around mine. It was also a reminder names are not only for calling, they are for keeping.